Hi everyone, how are you all?
Hello.
Good, thanks. How you doing?
Thank you.
I'm going to start with you, Thaddea, because I sat down and I explained the concept of the show to my wife. I said, it's about younger misfits solving supernatural crimes, so Sherlock Holmes. And she was like, oh, that sounds really cool. Let's watch it. And then she said, oh, is it a CBeebies thing? And I was like, yeah. So we sat down, and then obviously there's eyes gouged out by a flock of birds in like the third scene. And her face was quite a shock. I just wondered, are you looking at this is nothing like CBeebies. Are you sort of, is that one of the kind of joys to this, is knowing that there's a lot of audience members like my wife are going to be in for a pleasant surprise, because this is quite dark, isn't it, this series?
Yeah, it is. It definitely gets darker as you go on as well. I think people are in for a shock. I mean, I think we have taken the very familiar world of Sherlock Holmes and the Victorian London and taken these characters to somewhere that you're not really familiar with. And we have a very different Sherlock as well, which I think will surprise people. So it's exciting to think that that someone will go thinking, oh, a nice little BBC show. I would have paid good money to see her reaction.
And I was going to ask Harrison, I mean, being on the set with all that kind of production design and the props and the extras, it must have been so much fun, like kind of being in quite a weird, smelly theme park. I mean, I don't actually know if it was smelly. I just kind of assume it was smelly.
It did actually smell like quite a lot of the times we have to replicate sewer water, and to make it that brown color, they used to chuck a load of these mushrooms in. And I have a couple of scenes where I'm actually in that water, and I can confirm it smells pretty bad. But yeah, having the amazing opportunity that these two streets that Netflix had created on the back of this stately home, and seeing all these supporting artists just living in this world in Victorian London with horses galloping past, it was an amazing thing to sort of walk into. You get lost in that world instantly.
How was it in the canteen? Did you got to see sort of, I don't know, zombies and kind of like
no, I mean, like the quite a lot of the sort of villains and the monsters are quite scary guys on screen, but when you go and sit down and have catering, and then they're in full costume, and you're like, oh, you're not too scary, I guess. I'm still a bit on edge, but you're actually quite a normal guy.
And Darci, of course, we're talking about the kind of supernatural elements. It's quite a big question just to throw at you to start off with, but do you believe in that kind of supernatural and some of the stuff that your character can see?
I would like to believe that there's some kind of other presence here on Earth with us. I mean, I think, you always hear ghost stories, and I think I've had a few kind of encounters maybe with some kind of things that I can't explain, and I'm like, it must have been a ghost. But yeah, I mean, we had a lot of Ouija boards on set as well, which I would go nowhere near. Definitely not.
That terrified me. I didn't like that at all.
No way.
Were they
that scene where we both had to walk into this room with the Ouija board, and I was like, I don't really want to go in there.
No. Yeah.
No, Thaddea, I was going to ask too. I mean, there's this idea in period dramas and in period settings, everyone must talk and act in a certain way. Was it quite freeing, quite refreshing that there was this kind of, the dialect and the language here can be modernized, and it shows how easy it can be done, that historical accuracies aren't everything, and suspending our disbelief as an audience is actually much easier and more doable than some may think.
Yeah, I think it was lovely to have the kind of our modern dialect in there, but you also get the kind of the adults in the world speak a little more refined, shall we say. And obviously, Harrison in the palace, with Daimler and stuff, they all speak in a different way, and I think it's just so reflective of life. There are so many different ways of speaking, and none is right or wrong, and I think it's really lovely to see that on screen.
Because and I was going to ask too, Harrison. I mean, because obviously this is launching on Netflix, and usually there may have been a big kind of cast and crew screening, and all of you got together.
Yeah.
But if you had plans for watching this, if you had any kind of Zooms lined up or watching it with your family.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, we would have loved to have all been together to sort of celebrate the big premiere. But Netflix done an amazing thing of like organizing a virtual premiere. So we're doing one for sort of the whole cast and crew, and then all of our like reps as well. So it'd be amazing to share that experience for them watching it the first time, and just sharing that with them, because we all got so close with the crew and everyone up in Liverpool and in the north. So it'd be nice to see some familiar faces again.
Yeah, and Darci, I was speaking to Mckell actually, and he said that because obviously the production was halted because of COVID for a bit. He said he found it quite easy to kind of maintain the kind of enthusiasm and be in the right headspace for when we returned. How did you find that kind of break? Because I imagine it would be quite tricky for an actor to kind of, to keep up that kind of same adrenaline, I suppose, that you get when you're shooting.
Well, actually, when we finished and we had that break with COVID, I felt like I was coming to the end a little bit. Like I felt like it was getting a bit tough, and to keep up the stamina all the time. And so having that break actually made us really come back refreshed and ready to kind of bash out our last few bits, which was probably the climax of the series, which was a bit of a difficult one in itself. So yeah, I mean, I think as well, like when you come back onto set and you've got these beautiful costumes waiting for you. I mean, mine have a lot of holes in, but elegantly put holes. And yeah, I think when you put that back on and you step in the hair and makeup truck and you really just kind of become the character again. And I've sat with Jessie for like so long now, and I feel like I am slowly becoming her. So I feel like when I put that costume on, Jessie's voice just comes out. It's just kind of, yeah, it becomes like, mechanical almost.
And Thaddea, what would you say? I mean, obviously, it's again quite a big question, but there is something about Sherlock Holmes that we just can't. He seems to there's this constant kind of shows and films. It's a character we just revisit so many times. I know he's not the lead in this, but it's still built around that world that he's very much part of. What do you think is this kind of everlasting appeal of this character and this kind of environment that makes fans like myself want to step back into it time and time again?
I think for me anyway, I love watching people figure things out. I love game shows. We watch game shows all the time. And I think there's a real thrill of seeing someone, seeing the challenge and seeing whether they can get through it. And especially someone like Sherlock, who is so highly intelligent and has such a unique way of figuring things out. I think that's just really fascinating to watch. And also the world that they're in, it's something that we haven't lived. And I think people really like seeing that, and it's a bit of escapism. It's kind of like people do the enactments of battles or time periods that we just haven't lived in, that is so far away from modern life, which I think is a lovely thing to be able to step into.
So I was looking through, I was doing some research into Sherlock Holmes this morning, and I saw the sort of names of so many of his books and stories and realized they're all a little bit mad. So I was going to test your guys' knowledge with a game of real or fake. I'm going to read you some titles. You have to guess whether they're real or if I literally sat there this morning chuckling into myself. I made them up. So I'll start with you, Darci. The Adventure of the Cardboard Box.
I'm going to go for fake.
That one's real, I'm afraid.
No.
I'm not keeping scores, by the way. There's no competitive.
That was me in lockdown with all the Amazon packages.
Oh, I thought this was a team game.
Actually, yeah, you could just, because it's on Zoom, I thought if you all blurt them out, it might get a bit weird. But so, Harrison, I was going to say the Adventure of the Infected Kneecap.
Oh, it sounds like a Leo story, actually. With Leo's illnesses. I'm going to say true.
That one's made up. I enjoyed it.
You double bluffed me. Impressive.
Thaddea, the Adventure of the Hounslow Hiccup.
Oh no. Tree?
No, I made that one up as well.
You should be writing these Sherlock stories.
So much. I mean, I can write the title. I don't think I'll be very good at writing that.
Yeah. Like, okay, now give the 2 hour
If we do season 2, we'll give you a call.
Darci, the Adventure of the Greek Interpreter.
That one's hard. You know what? I think it's 50-50. I'm going to go for true.
Yeah, that was true.
Well, hey,
well
we got one right.
Yay. Harrison, the Adventure of the Engineer's Thumb.
Engineer's Thumb. It's quite an interesting story, to be fair. I'm going to say true.
Yes, that one is true.
Yes.
And finally,
no pressure.
The last one is A Terror in Tooting.
True.
That one's fake as well.
It's the alliteration. It puts you off.
Clever, yeah.
You guys do a season 2.
Yeah.
I'm not doing any more work than that. Well, I guess my very final question before I do go, then I'll ask you, Harrison. There's talking of series 2. I'm assuming the fun you guys had and the wealth of kind of stories that these characters could encounter in the future. This is something you'd love to revisit in the future.
Absolutely. I mean, we all had such an amazing time on this job, and I think we're all very proud of the work. And one thing about the series that is so good is that it finishes very open-ended, and there are so many things to explore: the relationships, the storylines, more characters get involved. So I think there's definite scope for a bigger world and more storylines. So we just hope that people can get behind it and want the same thing.
Cool, brilliant. Well, hopefully I'll be able to speak to you all for series 2 in real
in real life. Yeah. Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey, you guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.